Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Shine Wealthy. I am so super excited to bring you our next guest, Amanda Hinman from Hinman Holistic Health. She is not only one of my dear friends and mastermind sisters, but she is a phenomenal functional medicine holistic health coach. She's like truly amazing. Like I just had a session with her, so I can totally vouch for the information that she gives. So Amanda, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom about, how when we are dialed in with our energy and our excitement, that really is the key that also helps translate into cash in our business.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. I'm honored. This is so fun. It's a privilege to get to be here with you and to share just a topic that I feel so passionate about.
Yeah. So tell us kind of a little bit of background on your journey. I know you were, one of your daughters was actually suffering with a medical condition, and that kind of is what propelled you to move forward into this and like, hey, I need to figure this out. It's just not okay to just give my kid drugs.
Yeah, I truly believe that my life kind of took a divine redirection. I had been in the world of accounting and also health and wellness as a group fitness coach and a sports performance trainer. So admittedly, I had a little like total humility ego check because here I had always identified myself as somebody who's very healthy and our family is very healthy and strong. And, I had 4 daughters and was teaching cardio kickbox classes many days a week and training people who were collegiate athletes and professional athletes and eating salads every day and so on and so forth. And then when my oldest daughter was 8 years old, she was experiencing really extreme anxiety. And eventually that led to the point of her having daily seizures. I mean, she was having anywhere from 10 to 15 seizures in a day.
Wow.
And yeah, Chris, I mean, talk about just, wow, pull the rug out from underneath of you. It was devastating. It was really, it's hard to like remember that season in our life because at any moment in the drop of a hat, she would start to go into seizure activity. And I never knew
like what was happening
to come out of it.
Yeah.
Like it was really, really emotionally just, I remember being in bed and like physically shaking because she would wake up in the morning, and it's when the cortisol levels in the morning rise, that's when it would start. So usually within 5 minutes of her waking up, she would start to have seizures. And I remember just being so scared at certain days of our lives,
Yeah.
So anyway, the long and the short of it is that was at one point she was on 4 different anti-seizure medications simultaneously just to make it through a 24-hour period. And my bright, intelligent, witty little girl just became somebody I didn't recognize. It was like so muted, just because the medication had to keep her so suppressed to not have these seizures.
Yeah.
And we were told, we were down with amazing specialists. I have nothing but appreciation for the miraculous healthcare system that we have today in America, because they were doing everything and great interventions and great medication that she needed. And we absolutely needed. I think of it as like a crutch. Sometimes you just need that intervention to help the body stabilize while it's in a healing journey.
Yeah.
Yet I was totally thrown when the long-term plan for her was, this is just something that she's likely genetically born with and will have to manage for life. And she will probably never drive a car because of the amount of medication she's on and so on and so forth. And to me, every bone in my body was like, what? That can't be right. Like there has to be another story for her,
Yeah.
And coming from the world of health, a year prior to that, I had been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis during my 4th pregnancy. So the year prior to all of this activity with my daughter. And I had been to kind of some naturopaths and was on this journey of holistic health. And then with my daughter's catalyst, it was like, okay, no, I need to go back to school. I need to really deeply understand this and become empowered. And that's when I went back and essentially had a master's level training in functional medicine science. And the great thing is the body can be miraculously transformed when given an environment for healing and then an environment for thriving. So once really kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, working with other specialists and amazing support systems, through diet, through changes in lifestyle, through allowing that like shift in the way we approach life and really calming not only my body from a autoimmune dynamic down, but also my daughter's body. She just had massive hormonal and neurotransmitter imbalance. We were able to both totally, completely transform our health, right? My autoimmune has been in like essentially in a remissive state for decades now. And her health, she weaned off of all 4 seizure medications in a 9-month window of time, has been episode free, seizure free ever since. And in fact, actually this year, she's a senior at high school and her dream is to go to the US Air Force Academy.
Oh
and
my God.
I know, kind of wild, right? But they have a really intensive, rigorous medical exam that you have to go through. And obviously with her history, we went through an additional, she did a sleep deprived EEG, and they have to show that you've been medication free, seizure free for 7 years or more. And which she has been, but they were looking at her record, and the doctor, the neurologist this summer was like confused. He's like, wait a second, I'm looking at your history and I'm seeing the amount of medication you're on and all of the, episodes and whatnot. And you're telling me that you've been off of medication for this length of time? He was literally like perplexed, so it's just interesting because it's I think a large part that it goes to the empowerment factor. It goes to like, what is it that you believe is possible and that you're willing to step in faith in that direction.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And I love that we can appreciate the doctors in the allopathic field, right? For
Absolutely.
their specialists. And, sometimes we do need, medication to, help balance things or hold things for a while. But what I really like is you get to the root cause. Like functional medicine and functional health is not just about putting a Band-Aid on it, but really going deeper and being like, okay, there's a reason why this is happening. Let's not just treat the symptom, which is the seizures, or the symptom, which is the, Hashimoto's, but what is out of balance in our body? Because our body really is striving for balance. It wants to be in balance.
It wants to be, yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I know. And I shared with you, in our session that, I have an amazing doctor, and they're like, your cholesterol levels are like so high and it's got to be genetic. It like bugs the crap out of me, excuse me, when they say that it's genetic. It's like a thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, if it's genetic and I'm 54 years old now, why didn't show up earlier? Number one. But I'm like, I feel like that's like a catch-all for, I don't really know what to tell you. So it's just genetic and let's put you on medication. And it's crazy.
Well, and so the reality is there is a genetic component, absolutely, right? Yeah. So but the science of epigenetics now teaches us that the expression, whether our genes are turned on or turned off, is truly dependent on lifestyle. So it's not an understatement to say that up to 85, even 90% of our genetic expression is actually about lifestyle factors. So while yes, we may even inherit a genetic predisposition towards one type of dynamic or one type of disease process, whether or not that gene gets turned on or not is really going to be so much more in your control, and you have empowerment over that than you realize. So the catch-all of it's genetic, I'm like, okay, well that's layer one, but am I making decisions and making choices that are turning on that gene, or can I actually overtly turn it off?
That's incredible. I had no idea that the percentage was that high.
That high. Oh yeah, it's truly so empowering. The thing is here, and I love to say this, Chris, because I think there's a delicate balance when it comes to the world of health, and especially diving deep into the root cause, because I always think of it like a river. We have to navigate, given our own current, like where we are today and where our thoughts and our beliefs and our expectations are leading us to determine if we want to become more specific or if it's time to become more general. Kind of like a river. Think of a river, how it's like a river is, if it's really wide, it kind of just can be flowing nice and gradually, but then certain parts it may narrow down and all of a sudden it seems like it's a faster clip and the water's moving at a faster pace. And then sometimes it widens out and it kind of slows down again. And when I'm speaking with women all the time, a lot of times there's just frustration. Like I've been experiencing these symptoms, like my hair falling out, I have weight gain, and no matter how I try to adjust my food or my activity levels, it doesn't change. And there's just, understandably, I totally appreciate like a level of frustration. And if we're in that space, I'm like, oh, great, that's just your sign. That emotion of frustration is your sign. It's time to get more specific, because
Yes.
then you can become empowered. It's get more clarity, right?
Yes.
So kind of purposely tighten that river. So it's
Yep.
a little bit more of a brisk clip, which means usually for us, it's about gathering more data, pulling together maybe perhaps different resources or guidance or tools so that you can learn in a new way or look at it from a new perspective. But the caveat is sometimes we can get so overwhelmed with too much nuance and too much data that it's like you just shut down.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, time to let that river widen back out, take a step back, come back to the fundamentals that we know are going to be beneficial for everyone, right? Sleep, food, stress management, toxins. Like it's really kind of come back to the foundation.
Yep.
And then so you can kind of catch your breath, get your pace. And then, hey, if I'm seeing progress, awesome. If my progress stalls, guess what? I get to get a little bit more specific again.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because that makes it so much simpler.
Yes.
To take, take back the reins of your own health in a way that's manageable versus, oh my God, I've got to do all of these things and I've got to do all of these things right now. And if I don't do them all perfect, then I'm not gonna, and then we're like, a tap out, just give me the drug.
Totally.
I'm
Yeah,
out.
and I would say overwhelm is a toxin. Like you do not want to be in a state of massive overwhelm when it comes to your health, because that's not going to be serving you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. So I really want to kind of bring this back to, your specialty, because you really support women in balancing their hormones naturally.
Yes.
And I think that especially for those of us that are in the 40 and over range, I know I went through, early menopause when I was like 45. So I was having lots of hormonal shifts happen before then. And I really feel like if I would have had this information at my fingertips, I wouldn't have struggled for so long. But sometimes having information and having clarity around what's going on in your body and having some specific things that you can do just gives you such a sense of relief of being able to be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening and this is how I can handle it. So can you share a little bit about, your work and how you use, the information of functional medicine to kind of help dive into what is out of balance and how do you support women in figuring that piece out?
Absolutely, Chris. So we particularly look at a couple of key hormones because, like you said, they're always shifting, especially in our 40s and our 50s. There's a natural, like on purpose shift that takes place, but that means sometimes it's like mentally we're not prepared to have changes in our lifestyle that are going to shift with our body's natural rhythms and shifts. So looking at things like our thyroid function, and that's different than just, for example, a lot of times people will measure what's called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, but looking at a little bit more comprehensive picture of the actual thyroid function of what's happening in your body, looking at our estrogen and our progesterone and how those levels start to drop off naturally as we move closer and closer to menopause. Many women are surprised to find that, for example, progesterone, normally those we want to be estrogen and progesterone kind of cyclical and balancing each other, but progesterone will often drop off 5, maybe even 10 years before our estrogen levels start to significantly decline before menopause, right? And that in and of itself is a shift because, for example, estrogen is going to, an excess of estrogen makes us more predisposed to experiencing anxiety, anxious thoughts, right? It makes us more predisposed to holding on to weight. So there are a lot of symptoms that we think of like, oh, these are just normal symptoms, and they're very common. And a lot of it is because of the change in estrogen and progesterone levels. Well, a precursor to progesterone is stress. When we have high amounts of stress in our body, it will overtly kind of shut down, prioritize utilizing regular ovulation and progesterone, right? So there's ways that we can help to support, not only through lifestyle choices, sometimes it's different supplementation, different nutrients that we can look at to help kind of bolster and say, hey, listen, this is a season in your life where things are shifting on purpose. So what do we get to do to compensate for that? How do we get to, it's kind of like I don't know, if you have a car, some cars can take any kind of gasoline. Some cars prefer the premium gasoline, but if you're putting
Yeah.
in the other stuff, it's just not going to work as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's knowing what your body needs and kind of where in your hormonal cycle what season you're in, so that you can be a little bit more proactive and intentional to support it.
So good. And, I want to also, just bring this back, since we're talking about how do we get to create these amazing, lucrative businesses feeling well, right? That's why this was called Shine Wealthy. If we're
Yes.
not feeling well, we cannot have a successful business. We just can't. We'll get burnt out. We'll be tired. We're not going to show up to the best of our ability. Energetically, we won't be attracting the clients that we're most meant to serve, because vibrationally, we're just like feeling like crap and not having the energy to really move forward and run the business in the way that we want to be. And not only that, it affects so many other things in our life. It affects our relationships with our spouse, our relationship with our kids, the ability to do fun stuff on the weekends. And I would love for you to kind of just share how, some of the changes that you've seen when women are starting to feel better. Like, what are some of the shifts that you've seen in your clients, in their families, in their business, and
It's huge. And I think it comes down to, if I had to boil it down to one word, it's energy. Because when your health is optimized, literally your body physiologically is not spending its resources just trying to compensate for blockages, impairments, dysfunction. It's like, oh, all cylinders are lined up and we are firing and ready to go. So every single cell in the body runs with more energy.
Yeah.
You have more vitality, you have more bandwidth, you have more margin. So even like in terms of situations with clients, with team, you can be in that space of graciousness, of patience, of really kind of getting that download of, oh, this is the new inspired idea that's going to make a difference. And it's hard to put into quantify it.
Yeah.
It's just something that you experience differently when you're, like you said, when you're vibrational, when your energetic set point is a new norm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And for me personally, like I noticed the biggest, obviously in business for sure. And even the clients that you said, like you attract start to shift, right? Because there's always like an attraction point of who's seeking what it is that you're sharing. And also within my family, like, we have a busy family. My husband's amazing. We've been married since high school, or dating since high school, married 21 years. And
oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, so we've been together for a long time, but we're always kind of, balancing each other and keeping the girls all in their dance and gymnastics. So life is full, and it gets to be full, and I get to show up with margin, with ability to be, 2 days ago, one of my daughters came home and was like devastated by a situation that happened with a friend. And rather than me being impatient and kind of just frustrated, it's like I can be present and be calm and be there for her because I have the energy capacity to do so.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love the way that you mentioned about all cylinders firing, and that when we are depleted, it's because that those resources are going to try to keep us in survival mode, right?
Yes.
Like, all right, I just need to keep you alive. So let's put the resources here and here and here. And the imbalance is still happening. And so you're still feeling tired and not feeling well. But once you get those things lined up, then you can really utilize that energy to feel amazing and to get that creative. I love that you said those downloads, because I feel the same way. Like when I'm feeling high vibe, and I'm feeling good, that's when creativity pops in. That's when the divine downloads of the ideas of, oh, this would be really fun to do, or this would be really fun to create. Or when the client pops in my email and says, hey, I really want to learn more.
Totally. That's when things seem to be coming to you and you're not really efforting, and it's just kind of in flow.
Totally. Oh my gosh, so good. So what else would you like to share with us, Amanda, about how women can just really feel more empowered about their health and their wellness?
Actually, I want to share a funny story. I always use this analogy. It's a story analogy that I have from one of my mentors, Tracy Harrison, who's the founder of the School of Applied Functional Medicine, just to have this land, hopefully, and be something that stands out. It's called Broken Boats and Bodies. And this is what I think of as the power of truly going upstream to look at the root cause. Like, think of a scenario where every single day you're going to work beside the edge of a river, and your job is to help all of these people that are floundering around, almost drowning, broken bones, broken arms, and you see these boats that are capsized and turned upside down, and it's like, wow, what is going on? This is chaos here. But yet you work diligently. These are our, primary care, hands-on deck, amazing allopathic doctors and nurses and practitioners that we have. They do amazing work. We need people to pull the bodies out of the water. We need people to repair the boats and patch up the holes, right? But if we stop there and we expect that that's truly going to create vitality and optimal health, that's so far misguided. What we get to do is to say, hey, why are all these broken boats and bodies happening? What is, let's look further upstream and see what's going on. And maybe we notice that there's a precipitous waterfall plunge, and we're like, oh, well, maybe they weren't prepared. They don't have the adequate training. They don't have the right life jacket. They don't have a helmet. They don't have the right kind of boat and tools to really withstand this plunge off the waterfall, right? But then you also notice, hey, actually, there are some people that are going down that look like they're having the time of their life. They do have the right equipment. They do have the right skill. They do have the right training. They're not the ones we even see at the edge of the river. They make it through just fine. So what's the difference there? It's really that awareness in advance, right? And talk about health empowerment. That's what we get to do. So I think the message I want to share with all of these women in this amazing community is, you get to choose to be that person upstream that can be prepared, that can be supported, that can be well positioned to navigate a fun, wild ride, or conversely, kind of end up in that broken boat and body and totally get sidetracked when people tell me like, oh my gosh, this thing just happened out of the blue. I'm like, unfortunately, nothing with our health is out of the blue. Unaware.
Yeah. And when that happens, I've just seen so many stories of, women who completely shut down their business, or they need to go away on vacation for 3 months or 6 months to, try to get the energy, or they get burnt out. I mean, there's so many different things that happen when we are in those capsized boats and broken bodies, for sure. And I want to share one other thing that, in this analogy that you're giving us, and that is, we need support in helping us discern what are the tools that we really need, right? If we are, if we don't know the support that we need, then we don't really know how to implement that. And that's kind of where you and your team come in, is to be able to take a look at what's going on upstream, to be able to analyze what's happening and be like, oh, okay, you're missing the helmet, you're missing the oar, you're missing the life jacket, you're missing the actual boat, like whatever it is. So I love it that you and your team are like such great and amazing detectives, right? Because you're like, okay, let's dive in, let's take a look, let's look at the information that we have, let's gather more if we need it, but let's really get to the root cause. And that was so profound for me to be like, oh, had no idea that, I could be missing this piece and this piece. And then you're like, yeah. And, once we give you those tools, your body has what it needs to be in that boat and have an amazing time, instead of being at the bottom with a broken bone.
Exactly. Absolutely. I put myself in that category of, you can't do better until you know better. And that was me, right? With my daughter, with my health, like it was a uncomfortable, but a really valuable lesson that I got to learn at several years ago. And I'm so grateful for that, because, there's another path, another way.
Well, and, none of us are given this information as we grow up. We're just given whatever it is our, doctors are telling us, or whatever we're Googling, or, whatever's on WebMD, or, whatever pops up, and there's so much more to that we really do need. Again, we don't know what we don't know. And having somebody who has got the guidance that can be that detective that can help fill in the blanks is just so incredibly valuable, because it allows you to rebalance things quicker, and it allows you to have the energy quicker, and to, correct what's happening upstream in a way that also feels clear. And, for me, it gives me clarity, gives me confidence, helps me know, oh, these are the specific pieces that I can start implementing now that are going to have a huge difference downstream.
And that's what it is. I think sometimes it's not even necessarily like, yes, usually if you want a different outcome, there's going to be some different choices that take place. but it doesn't necessarily have to be like throw your whole life upside down choices. It's
Mhm.
really sometimes little tweaks that are done consistently, and consistently for weeks, months, and years, like sets up a whole different trajectory. It's kind of like that sailboat out on the ocean. If you just shift by 2 degrees, guess what? In 30 days, you end up in a completely different side of the world.
Oh my gosh, yes. I totally love that analogy. I use the analogy of the airplane though. Like if you shift it 1 degree and you thought you were going over to Paris, but you actually end up in New Zealand or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Same thing. Right.
Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh, Amanda. So how can people find you? And I know that you've got an amazing freebie and or anything else that you want to, share that you think is going to be impactful for our, women entrepreneurs here wanting to grow a fantastic business and be well doing it.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me at hinmanholistic.com. That's HINMAN holistic.com. And we have something where I love it. 3 simple ways to decrease bloating in 5 days. So if that's something you kind of just like, oh, I want to get rid of this annoying bloat, then this is a really great resource and tool for you. And I'm always doing quarterly hormone resets experiences live. So if anyone's ever interested, you can always find information about the most recent reset experience on our website too.
Oh, fantastic. Hormone reset experience. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, I'm diving all in on that. Amanda, thank you so much. I so appreciate your guidance, your wisdom, everything, here to help support me and to the women that are here inside of the Shine Wellthy Summit. I so appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. My pleasure. I appreciate you too. This is great, and so great to just all work together in collaboration.
Yeah. Oh, so much fun. So everybody go to the hub. You have access to the hub, or you have access to Amanda, to her freebie, the link. It's really, really easy. Just click on the hub, find Amanda's photos, click on the link. It'll take you right there. And thank you for being here today. We will see you back here again for our next guest expert. Bye, everybody.
Bye.